Hello everyone, welcome to this session. My name is Wycliffe, and in today's video I want to show you how you can bind rows if you have data frame from different sources and you want to bind them into one single data frame. How do we do that in R? So we can use dplyr package for that. So if you don't have it already, you need to install it using install.packages. But I have it, so I will just comment it out and load it using the library function, and then I provide dplyr. So for this, I will create several data frames. Say I have past data frame or a table. So I will create it using the table function. You can create it using data frame function. And then we say we have farms, which is a paste of maybe F underscore all the way from 1 to 3. Just 3 farms. And then we have some counties, which we will say is Kericho, Bomet, Nandi. Your data frame can be quite long, longer than mine, or short. It doesn't matter. And then the yield, which is obtained from each of these, were 400 kilograms, 550, and 300. Okay, that's our first data frame. So if we run dfa, we see the data frame, and then we will create another data frame. So dfb, and this data frame, of course, it's a table. We create it using the table function, and then it will have basically the same things as this. So I can just copy that and paste it here and change this to B. And then the content, I can say it had only F6 and F7. So I can say 6 to 7. So it has fewer rows, and it is only for Bomet and Nandi. There is no Kericho. And then the yields are also 390 and 350 only. So let's say from here, 390 and then 350. So that's DFB. If we run DFB alone, we see its content, okay? And then for DFC, we paste the same structure we copied before, and then we say it's a table with F6 and F7. So F6 to 7, and then for the county, we have Bomet and Nandi again. So we call it like that. And then the yield is 390 and 350. 390 and 350. Then we have another column for this data set, which is different from the others. And this is called PF and BP, the T classes or categories. Okay. So if we run that and we check DFC, we notice that it is the only data frame with 4 columns. The rest were 3 columns, 3 columns. So they have different number of columns, okay? So if we want to bind the rows together, if we want, for example, to bind DFA and DFB together, first of all, let me expand this and then show you what DFA looks like, and then DFB, how it looks like. So what we want is to lift this information, 1 and 2 here, and put them after 3 here. So the farm correspond to farm, the county gets into the county column, T in kilogram appends below here. So we have one big data frame. So how do we do that? We can do that using the bind rows function. So we can say bind rows, bind rows. And then the first row, the first data frame is DFA, and then the second data frame is DFB. If we do that, we'll see that the row 6 and 7, which were from DFB, have been appended to the original DFA. So now we have only one data frame, and you can send it to whoever you want. We can also append DFA to DFC. just change that to C. But now remember DFC had a grade column, which was not there in DFA. DFA only had 3 columns. So what does it do? It still combines it, it matches those that match, and then whatever does not match, it gives it not available for the data frame where it is missing. So our case DFA. All right, we can also bind all the 3 of them. So we can add DFB. And now we have both DFA and DFB having NS and only DFC having a grade. How do we know? And you can see the farm IDs, the 6 and 7, the 6 and 7 for each of the last ones. Okay. We can also put the data frames into a list. So we can use the list function and then say DFA and then DFB and then DFC. And then once we have them as a list, we can then bind rows of that list of the DFs. It's the same thing. So if you have a list of data frames, you can bind them together using bind rows. What is important that I wanted to say is that normally in the base R, we use rbind function to bind rows. For example, if you want to bind rows of DFA and DFB, you can use, and DFB underscore B, you can use rbind to bind rows. But this becomes problematic if in one data frame there is missing number of columns. So you get this mismatch error that number of columns or of arguments do not match. So this one has got 3 columns, this one has got 4 columns, and therefore rbind throws an error. But if we use bind rows, it binds them and gives NA where it is not available. So it's advanced. This is what I wanted to share with you today. If you like it, go to the description section of this video and pick the code, which you can then use in my GitHub repository, which you can use to try your work, and then share and like it. Thank you and happy coding. Bye-bye.